Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declared the David's Sling intermediate-range missile interceptor to be fully operational. During the unveiling ceremony, the premier stressed that any enemies who threaten the existence of the Jewish state will put themselves in existential danger. The anti-missile system is designed to shoot down rockets fired from as far away as 125 miles. It's the final addition to Israel's defense shield that already includes the short-range Iron Dome and long-range Arrow 2 and 3 missile interceptors.
David Friedman has just officially been sworn into office as the U.S. ambassador to Israel. While administering the oath of office, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence underscored President Donald Trump's lifelong friendship with Israel and the Jewish people. Pence added that under Trump's leadership, the world knows America stands with its closest ally. Friedman made history by becoming the first foreign envoy appointed by the new administration, and he took the oath of office in the presence of his wife, 5 children, and most of the couple's grandchildren.
Nikki Haley, the United States ambassador to the United Nations, received a standing ovation at the General Assembly Hall during her address at the second annual summit against the boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign targeting Israel. Haley said she was privileged to have become the first state leader in the U.S. to sign anti-BDS legislation back in 2015 while she was still serving as the governor of South Carolina before becoming Washington's envoy to the world body. She told the cheering audience that it was a tragic irony that she's once again taking on those seeking to harm the Jewish state. She then reassured the crowd of at least 2,000 supporters that since the inauguration of the Trump administration, Israel now has a fighter and a friend in the UN to help lead the battle against any such attempts.
British officials are putting the UN Human Rights Council on notice to immediately alter its bias against Israel, following the passage of 5 condemnatory resolutions against the Jewish state in a single day. UK Ambassador Julian Braithwaite demanded the 47-member organization enact significant change. London's envoy slammed the inclusion of Israel as the only permanent nation on the Council's agenda as absurd and disproportionate. And he added that it's simply unacceptable that the UNHRC has never once criticized Palestinian terrorism and incitement against the Israeli people. Meanwhile, Washington has announced that from now on, the U.S. representative will boycott any sessions that single out the one true democracy in the Middle East. The White House has previously threatened to completely withdraw from the UN agency if it doesn't undertake major reforms to nullify its slanted position against Israel.
A convicted Arab terrorist is dropping her legal battle to remain in the United States and will voluntarily leave the country. Rasmia Odeh was a member of a Palestinian terror group and participated in the 1969 bombing of a Jerusalem supermarket that killed 2 people. After her release from jail in a prisoner swap a decade later, Odeh lied about her terrorist past when applying for U.S. citizenship in 1980. A Detroit court convicted the former terrorist of immigration fraud 3 years ago. She was ordered to serve 8 months in a federal prison, stripped of her American citizenship, and deported to Jordan. But the now 69-year-old switched her plea to guilty in exchange for no time behind bars. While living in Chicago, Odeh was a prominent anti-Israel activist for the Arab American Action Network. The oldest Jewish document of the New World has been returned to Mexico more than 7 decades after it mysteriously vanished from state archives. The manuscript is the memoir of Luis de Carvajal and was written in the year 1595. It also includes the author's collection of Jewish prayers and psalms. The texts are considered important artifacts because of the rich detail they offer about 16th century Jewish life on the American continent. Fortunately, the documents resurfaced on the auction circuit 2 years ago, and they'll now be placed on public display in Mexico's Museum of Memory and Tolerance.
The Zookeeper's Wife was just premiered in Los Angeles. The film is set at the beginning of the Second World War and portrays the true story of Antonina Zabinski, who used her husband Jan's zoo in Warsaw to help smuggle 300 Jews out of the Nazi-occupied city. Over the course of 3 years, hundreds of Jews fleeing Europe's death camps sought refuge in animal cages that had been left abandoned after the 1939 German air assault on Warsaw. The couple's son also brought food and looked after the needs of the people in the Zabinski's care. The Christian family was recognized by the State of Israel as the righteous among the nations for their heroic rescue mission. The Zookeeper's Wife is now open at theaters across America. Jews around the world are now preparing to celebrate the Passover holiday, which begins at sundown on Monday. The week-long biblical festival commemorates the liberation of the Jewish people from slavery in Egypt by God, as told in the book of Exodus. According to standard biblical chronology, that event would have taken place around 1,300 years before the Common Era. The Jewish people also linked the holiday with their exile from the land of Israel by the Romans. They prayed to God for 2,000 years for their return to the Holy Land to fulfill the closing prayer of the Passover Seder to celebrate the holiday next year in Jerusalem. And just as God saved the Jews from Pharaoh, the Jewish people returned to Israel, where they now have their own state and military, ensuring the freedom to practice Judaism without any fear of persecution.
Israel, the light unto the nations, today faces attack from more than just rockets and terrorism. Calls to boycott, sanction, and divest from Israel, known as BDS, are a form of economic warfare that you can help to prevent. The Israel Allies Foundation has launched a public service campaign called Defeat BDS, offering educational tools and other resources that you can use to stand with Israel and help make a difference. Just visit the easy-to-use website at www.defeatbds.org.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful sunny day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Rabbi Benny Lao. He's the founder and director of the 9 to 9 organization. Rabbi Lao, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Rabbi Lao, your uncle was the chief rabbi of Israel. Your cousin's the chief rabbi of Israel. You're one of the most respected rabbis in Jerusalem. How is it after thousands of years, how does it feel to be one of the big rabbis of our time in Jerusalem, the United Capital of Israel?
You know, it's just few times in the history that you can share dreams with the physical life. If you open the Bible, take a chapter from Zechariah, okay, one of the end prophets who share the second time that people came to build the second temple days, the period that Zechariah came, and he saw an empty area, empty Jerusalem without Jews, ruins around, and then he opened his eyes, watched view to the history and said, I can promise you, Od Yeshvu, he said, of course in Hebrew, one day old people will be here with young kids, all together we build the society in Jerusalem. And a few years ago, I took my father, who passed away, with his wheelchair, with my kids and my grandchildren. We went to a park in Jerusalem, and then we stopped and said, here, it's happened. It's not a dream anymore. Now this responsibility to keep it, to build Jerusalem and to take care that the next generations will be here with peace, with strong ideas, values, and this is our period.
You're now the director and the founder of an organization called 9 to 9. Tell our viewers a little bit about that.
2 years ago, the President Rivlin called me and said, I see the society in Israel and I see the split between the tribes, he called that. Many tribes, each one with wall between, and no one listen and of course not talk with the language each other. And he asked me, can you do something to do a positive way to collect the society? We know how to do that in a negative way. Negative may mean when you see enemies around. When you see so many enemies, then you collect yourself with a fear because you want to feel comfortable with people like you. But when the enemies go back, then the whole, we should say, a very dirty feelings raised up. And all complicated situations in the Israeli society raised at the tribes, the walls. And then he asked me, can you do something positive to share with the whole tribes? And I took the Bible. I took the Bible with 9 chapters. This is a secret. The name 9 to 9 of the project is the name of the Bible, the whole Bible. And what we try to say to all kinds of people who live in Jerusalem, in Israel, all around, to say this is our heritage. It's not sector book. No one is the honor of this book. It's to the whole human being. Everyone can keep this chapter, this book, and read it and feel that it's his. And by learning the Bible together, every day 1 chapter, we take it from 1 chapter a day, the same chapter all around the country, but each one with his own voice, own belief, own style. You, never mind where you came from, you take the Bible and then you understand that the positive way can collect us. After 2 years, I can tell you that 250,000 Israelis, 250,000 Israelis around the country, by mobiles, by internet, by groups, sharing this trip with us, this journey, and hopefully we go more and more to the feeling that even though that we are tribes, we have one heart that collects us.
Rabbi Lao, you mentioned this at the beginning, that we are literally seeing the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Today in our time, we are seeing the tribes, the lost tribes, become part of our nation again, the B'nai Menashe, the Jews of Ethiopia. How miraculous is that?
The truth is that when you look around, you read carefully the message from 1,000 years ago, and you see what's happened to the Israelis who passed away with the Syrian history. Then you go to the Babylon, you go around the Egyptians, you go all over the history, and then you open your eyes and look after that, after the steps of the whole history, and then you open yourself and say something happened. Everyone with open mind and open eyes can see that we are living in a very, very special period. Something happened when we look to the Jewish families all around the world who move slowly, find themselves comfortable in the land of the parents, in the old land, the Holy Land. You understand that this is your period, and it's very strong responsibility to ask yourself, what is your message to your grandchildren? They will ask you one day, 50 years from now, they will ask you, Saba, grandfather, what did you do to make the history better?
Rabbi Lao, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
I want to tell you that we all listen to media, to reports from the world. We know that there are many negative feelings raised in the world by enemies, by trying to put themselves in the center of the world. Here from Jerusalem, I want to tell shortly that when we are talking about peace in Jerusalem, the way to do that is to minimize yourself. Minimize yourself, make place to each one. Minimize yourself, it's starting with the idea that you are not the only person and not the only nation in this area. When you minimize yourself as a person, individual, and as a society, immediately the other will find their own place. And by that, we believe that the Holy will find himself in the Holy Land.
Thank you, Rabbi Lao, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Keren Hayesod.
Hello and welcome to the Return to Zion with Keren Hayesod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Keren Hayesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Today, Ukrainian Jews are in great danger as they live in war-torn Ukraine. Help us fulfill biblical prophecy. by bringing our brothers and sisters back home to safety. God bless you from Jerusalem.
I will even gather you from the peoples and assemble you out of the countries where ye have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. Ezekiel 11:17.
In eastern Ukraine, over the past 2.5 years, a brutal and cruel war has been raging. A savage war without clearly defined front lines. Against this backdrop, the Jews of eastern Ukraine have been in peril. The donors of Keren Hayesod from around the world have heeded the call and have come to their rescue. Our supporters realize that the window of opportunity to rescue these Jews may slam shut.
Lift up your eyes and look around. All your children gather and come to you. Isaiah 49:18.
We are here to support, all of us, the Jewish people who return to their homeland, to support each other.
These Jews must be extracted from burning towns, from raging battles, and from the chaos of eastern Ukraine, and brought back to their ancient homeland.
Я решила приехать в Израиль, потому что я последние полгода почувствовала свои еврейские корни и поняла, что я не могу больше находиться в своей стране, и я должна вернуться на свою историческую родину.
Корни говорят сами о себе, было рвение, плюс хотелось, чтобы сын узнал.
Воссоединение с семьей, наша семья здесь сейчас, папа, мама, сестра.
Большое волнение, но как-то у меня сразу, как мы прилетели, какое-то ощущение было правильности нашего выбора.
Для будущего нашего ребенка в первую очередь.
Keren Hayesod's friends around the world have been stepping forward to enable this life-saving effort to continue. Many thousands have already been rescued, yet many thousands still remain in eastern Ukraine. They must be brought out now. Through Keren Hayesod and our partner, the Jewish Agency, our dreams, our prayers, and our hopes are coming together in fulfillment of the biblical prophecy that foresaw the return of the Jewish people to their ancestral homeland.
Behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the uttermost parts of the earth. A great company shall they return hither. Jeremiah 31:7.
The situation is highly unpredictable, and we must not miss this chance to help. We cannot let them down. All possible resources must be mobilized in this effort. You too can play your part in this crucial mission as Keren Hayesod provides these Jews in distress with new lives in Israel. Join us. We must not forsake them in their time of need.
Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
The world needs Israel. Most obviously, the world needs Israeli technology. Israeli technology is in virtually every computer. It's in every surgical operating room, in every hospital. It's in every communication system. We are the world's leaders in innovation. Over a quarter of the world's investment in cybersecurity is in the state of Israel. And anybody from the security establishment will tell you that cybersecurity is the most crucial and indeed the most vulnerable front in any nation's defense today. Israel is that world leader. The world needs Israeli technology. But beyond just semiconductors and swallowable, camera film pills that Israel develops, Israel presents a model that the world desperately needs today. We have shown the world how Israel, a democracy, can thrive in the midst of the most inhospitable and undemocratic region in the world. Israel is one of the few countries in the world, along with the United States, Britain, Canada, that has never known a second of non-democratic governance. And in the Knesset, members of Knesset who are Jewish, Muslim, Druze, and Christian can openly argue and debate about the most sensitive issues without any fear of physical threat or retribution. That is a model to the world. Israel is a model to the world of how a country can be both future-looking and respect its tradition. We are the perfect blend. We have proven that tradition can coexist with modernity and can coexist in a dynamic and creative way. The world needs the example of the State of Israel. The State of Israel has proven that one can be a nation state, proud and patriotic, and be outlooking to the world. Israel has proven to the world that its citizenry can bear arms and defend itself, defend its democracy, without conceding any aspect of that democracy and not succumbing in any way to militancy. We are the ultimate model for the world in the 21st century. The world needs the State of Israel.
Lift up your eyes and look around. All your children gather and come to you. The biblical prophecy is unfolding right before our very eyes. The people of Israel are returning to the Promised Land after 2,000 years of exile. But millions of Jews are still longing to come home. Anti-Semitism threatens many of the Jews. We must rescue them before the window of opportunity slams shut. Bless Israel by supporting Keren Hayesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Together, we can fulfill the prophecy of the Bible.
Let us bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
כל יום היה פחד על החיים. כל יום חשבו, הנה זה יום אחרון שחיים. לולי הייתה מדינה, אולי אנחנו לא היינו עוברים את השואה היהודית. שמי חווה הרשקוביץ', אני נולדתי בשנת 1933 ברומניה. בשנים הראשונות חיינו חיים רגילים. אסור היה לי ללכת לבית הספר, יהודים לא התקבלו לבית הספר. הציקו לאנשים. לא היה חיים קלים כבר גם אז, אבל כך היה עד שנת 41. בוקר אחד אמרו, עוד כמה שעות להיות בתחנת הרכבת, נוסעים לעבודה ל3 ימים. לא היה מים, לא היה אוכל, לא היה שירותים, צעקות, דוחק, בקושי היה אוויר. בגבול הורידו אותנו והצעידו אותנו 40 קילומטר ברגל לתוך אוקראינה. כל האזור היה מחנה אחד גדול. אנשים סבלו מאוד, אסור היה לצאת, מחלות מאוד קשות היו. באותה שנה היה קור נוראי שם. וככה מתו המון אנשים. בשנת 43 שוחררו ילדים מטרנסניסטריה שהיו יתומים. ואני הייתי בין אלה ששוחררתי, ובאותה שנה עלינו ארצה. הזמנים אז היו מאוד קשים בארץ. והתחילו להילחם לקראת הקמת המדינה. השתחררתי מהצבא, ומאז עבדתי בחברת חריש, קראו לה, שהיא הייתה חברה לעבודות עפר, ובנו את המוביל הארצי, את המים לנגב. אני הרגשתי מאוד גאווה שאני עובדת בזה. לפני 8 שנים נפטר בעלי. ואני החלטתי שבבית אני לא נשארת לבד. ובאתי לגור לבית חם לניצולי שואה. אני מרגישה שדואגים לי, אני מרגישה שחשוב שיהיה לנו טוב פה. יוצאים לטיולים, כמו שביקרנו אצל נשיא המדינה, אצל ראש הממשלה. אלה הזדמנויות שלא היה לי בתור בן אדם פרטי. וחשוב שיהיה לאנשים מה לעשות. למשל, כל יום רביעי בערב אנחנו רוקדים. אתם מוזמנים לראות אנשים מבוגרים, זקנים, כולם רוקדים. זה נותן משהו מאוד מאוד לנפש שלנו. לא להיות לבד, להיות לבד היינו הרבה. היד עזר לחבר מאוד מאוד תומכת. השגרירות הנוצרית, אנחנו מאוד אוהבים אתכם, ואנחנו מרגישים שאתם עושים לנו איכות חיים מאוד מאוד טובה. בעיקר שיבואו כמה שיותר, שיכירו אותנו ושיספרו בעולם מי אנחנו, ואנחנו גם מספרים בעולם מי אתם שעוזרים לנו.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.